Today, I'm going to show you how to create condensed thunderclouds and liquid sunlight from the new Wonka movie. The things we need to create our condensed thunderclouds and liquid sunlight are 2 glass bottles. Now, these are not the exact type of bottles they have in the film, but they were as close as I could find. We are going to be using some hand sanitizer for one of these, as well as some distilled water and glycerin. I have 2 different color shades of food coloring in blue and yellow, as well as a gold mica powder and a blue mica powder. We're going to expand on our light box system, and we're going to add another light to it. We're going to use some clear acetate sheets, a zig glue marker, some gold leafing, some sandpaper, and finally, we will need our labels printed on sticker paper, and the link for this is in the description down below. Let's get started. Would you like a chance to win a monthly potion bottle? Then consider supporting me over on Patreon. All of my patrons have a chance to win a monthly potion bottle. Patreon not your thing? No worries. You can become a member here on YouTube, where you get exclusive icons and emojis to use in the comment section. Link is in the description down below.
Condensed thunderclouds and liquid sunlight.
The first thing we're going to do is we are going to take our condensed thunderclouds little label here, and we are going to gold leaf the bolt. Now, I did put a faux gold leaf look on here, so in case you don't have access to gold leafing or you just don't want to do it, you don't have to. But in the film, it is a gold leafing. Now, in the film, you actually can't see the label, but in a behind the scenes, you can. It's on the back of the bottle. I'm going to show a little clip of the behind the scenes here in a minute, but one of the things that they said in there, which I don't think is giving away really anything in the film, is that Willy can't read. So all of his labels and things in his traveling chocolate factory are drawings and pictures because he doesn't know how to read, so he's not going to write on it, which is why it's just a sun and a thunderbolt. So I pretty much replicated these fairly identically to the ones in the film, but to make this more accurate, we're going to actually gold leaf it. So we're going to use our Zig two-way glue marker. It has been a while since I've used these, but I love these things. They come in a couple different styles, and they're fantastic. So all we're going to do for this one is draw over our lightning bolt. I'm going to let it get tacky for a second, and then we're going to cover it in our gold leafing, and then let it dry completely. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to put some of our gold leafing on top of it and really press it in. And then we're going to put this off to the side and let it dry completely. And we will then brush off the excess gold leafing, and we should be left with a gold leafed thunderbolt. All right, the next thing we're going to focus on is our lighted book box. So we actually made this box in our Drink of Despair video. And if you will recall, we drilled a hole in the book box and then added an LED light, which used to be a candle, to it, so then that way we could light it up and we could put a potion bottle on top and it would shine through. This works out really well. So today, because we have 2 potions that light up, we're going to add a second one. Now, this light flickers, which will be perfect for our condensed thunderclouds. Now, this flickering one started out as a candle as well, and just like the one we put in here, I literally just pulled the flame off. Takes a little pulling and twisting, but it does come undone and off. Toss the flame part away, and we are left with a flickering. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see, but it flickers kind of like a lightning bolt. So it comes with a remote with the little set, has timers on it and all that kind of stuff. You honestly don't need it if it's on and off, but you could use it to turn it on and off, which is a nice idea as well. Now, I already went and drilled another hole right here for our second light. So now at this point, I would love if it just stuck in like this one does, but it won't stay. But our light comes through the box and works really well. So we're actually going to just hot glue our light onto our box, and then if I ever need to change the batteries or pull it off, it's not a big deal. It's inside the box, so it's not like you'd see if it came off. So this will be perfect for our liquid sunshine to go here and our condensed thunderclouds to go here. So we're going to start with our liquid sunlight. So for this, I'm going to use the hand sanitizer because I want it to be thicker so that the mica kind of stays suspended in it. And we may not need to use a whole lot of the food coloring or any of the food coloring. We'll kind of see how the mica plays with the hand sanitizer. But one thing I want to say is in the film, the bottle of liquid sunlight is round, not this square and then round at the top. But all of the round ones I could find, I felt like were way too big. So instead of doing a too large version, I decided to go with a version that was more close to the size, that's very similar. I know I'm probably the only one that's ever even going to care, but it does bother me slightly that it's not round, but I did want to let you guys know. I like this one, though, because the size of the neck is more accurate to the film, and the actual size and diameter of the bottle is closer to the one in the film. Believe me, I checked everywhere to see if I could find one. There was one on Amazon that I'm not even sure if it's the right size because, sometimes it's a little hard to see dimensions accurately on there. And it was crazy stupid expensive. So I was not going to purchase it just to see if it was potentially close to the same bottle. Now, I did look at some food bottles like truffle oils and balsamics, and some of that sometimes comes in bottles similar to the one in the film, which is, again, just a round one, just like this. But I didn't find any that I felt like were right. All of their necks were a little too long. So I decided to go with this one. Now, this one is from Michael's. It's one of their core bottles they've carried for years. We've used it for other potions in the past. But I felt like it was a close enough substitute, so. So we are just going to squeeze our hand sanitizer in here. Okay, I'll save you all the boring of that. I will come back when it's full. Okay, now I don't want this all the way filled up because it's not all the way filled up in the film, but I want you to note something. So see how there are no bubbles visible in this one, but there are bubbles in this one? The bubbles in this will eventually work their way out, just like they have in here. So I kind of like the bubbles, but they won't stay. So it'll actually look a little bit more liquidy once it settles completely. So we're going to add some of our gold mica powder, and then we'll kind of gauge whether we feel like we need to add a little food coloring or whether the gold mica powder will color it itself. It's kind of hard to say when you work with a thicker substance like the gel, or in this case, the hand sanitizer. It's always a little tricky to know whether the actual mica will color it or whether you need to add another substrate like food coloring. Now, it does get a little tricky because it is a different substance than what we are used to. So just take a lot more mixing. Okay, so I did not listen to my own advice on this one. I did not make a tester bottle, which I would have known then that I can't just mix it into the bottle. So I dumped all of it into this piping bag out of the bottle and mixed the mica in completely. So we do have the mica in there, and I do like that it gives you this like gold fleck shimmer, but we are going to add just a tiny bit of the food coloring to make it a little bit more yellow. Okay, I just literally added 1 drop. All right, so that leaves us with a very sunny yellow hand sanitizer that has these pretty gold flecks. So I think that works out well. We're going to go ahead and snip the end of this and place it back in our bottle. All right, and as that settles, those flecks should come right off the wall there. But because this is hand sanitizer and it's thicker, all of this gold mica in here that's suspended should stay suspended. Now, like I said, the little bubbles will go away, which a lot of them did when we mixed, but that mica should stay suspended in there because it's a thicker viscosity than just, say, the alcohol. All right, so we are going to cork this up. Because this is hand sanitizer, I feel perfectly fine corking this with a regular cork and it not being an issue. Now I have grabbed some sandpaper and I kind of want to rough up the edge of this label. And then I'm going to go around with my matching marker, which should just kind of pick up on some of that aging. And then once it's on the bottle, we can always add some more. So I'm going to do a brown just to, again, kind of give it that old look, like it's dirty on the edge. Maybe even like it's burnt a little bit. Who knows? And I actually think that that did a really nice job of kind of roughing up the outside edge. I do think I'm going to just take a little edge of this and kind of adds a little bit more wear and tear to it. Now, this bottle already had a little bit of a like natural wear and tear to it, but you definitely could add a little bit more with the sandpaper. You also could use some of the Tim Holtz Distressed Oxide, anything like that. Perfect. All right, so now we can work on the fancy detail at the top of the bottle. All right, so in the film, there's a very minute detail where you can see that there is a yellow, orange, and red cording bands across the top. So we're going to go ahead and do that 3-layered cording. Okay, and we are going to do this just like we have all the other bottles before, except we're going to be doing 3 layers. So again, we're going to start at the bottom, which in this case is red. And we're going to go 1/3 of the way up the neck of the bottle, because then we're going to continue with the orange and finish with the yellow. So for this one, I actually figured out that 8 wraps of each color got me the perfect amount for it to cover the neck. If you use a different bottle, it may vary, but for me, it was 8 wraps of each color. And once we get our neck wrapped, we have our liquid sunlight. All right, so for our Condensed Thunderclouds, again, this is not the same bottle, but it's close. This is actually one of the leftover bottles from our Target Christmas potions. So I picked up a whole bunch of these, especially after Christmas. There was still a handful. And I feel like it's a very close proximity. The bottle in the film kind of goes in more down here and makes it skinnier, but this is as close as we're going to get. So for this one, we're going to actually do distilled water and glycerin. And I'm going to add a tiny bit more glycerin just so, again, the viscosity of it is a little bit thicker so that the mica will kind of stay up a little bit more. You're still going to have to shake it to get it to completely stay up. And we're not going to put a ton of mica in this one. I wanted it to be a little thicker so that it stays in there a little bit longer. Now, the other reason I'm using the distilled water and glycerin is because I want to use a regular cork. And truthfully, I may have done alcohol if I would have had a white cork that was a number 2, which is what I needed for this, so that I could have just done a faux cork detailing with the permanent markers on the white, but all I had in a 2 was my black corks, and I felt like that wouldn't work. So we're going to go ahead and do the distilled water and glycerin for this one, but you can do whatever you want. And I have a lot more water here than what I'm going to need, and it's because I want to be able to dilute it down and make it the way I want. First thing I'm going to do is add just the tiniest little drop, not even a drop, of food coloring onto my spoon here. So I can just tint the water, and I actually think that's perfect. I literally just wanted it to have a kiss of blue. I didn't want it to be super dark or anything like that because I want you to be able to see through it nicely. And then we're going to add a little bit of our mica powder here. Let me use my other end. And I do mean just a tiny bit. I just want enough that there's a little bit of a shimmer in there, but it's not crazy. Okay, I think that's good. I don't know how well you guys can see, but there definitely is just a little shimmer in there. Then we're going to add our glycerin. Now, if I was just making this a shakeable potion that I didn't want it to suspend longer, literally 2 drops. 1 or 2 drops is all you need, and then really mix it in. And that little bit of glycerin is going to help keep our water stable so that it doesn't get all disgusting and grow things. You could also add a little bit of alcohol, but I'm adding a little bit more because, I want it to be a little thicker so that the tiny bit of shimmer we have in here will stay suspended a little bit longer when we shake it up. Now, be warned, sometimes if you put too much glycerin in and you have a lot of mica powder, you can get weird clumps at the bottom that really don't want to break up. But because we have such a tiny amount of mica powder in this one, the added glycerin is not going to affect it because it's going to take it a lot longer for it to settle, and it's not going to settle the same way a lot of mica powder does. So just want to make sure you guys all know that so I don't get a bunch of, well, I added that much before and it left weird snakes at the bottom. It can. It definitely can, especially if there's a lot of mica powder in to give you a good shift. A lot of glycerin can make it kind of weird at the bottom. But we're doing it just to keep it thicker for this one so that our tiny bit of shimmer will stay suspended longer. All right, so I think that is perfect. Now, I have another detail to this one that I want to add in. So we took our acetate sheets that I showed you and I put them on my Cricut and I cut out these lightning bolts. Now I added a circle at the bottom. That's to kind of help transmit a little bit of light and to also stabilize them. And then there's this like rectangle at the top so that I can get it to kind of stay up in the neck of my bottle. And we're going to put these in so that when we put the light underneath of it, it's going to hit these lightning bolts and it's going to refract off of it. But when it's not lit, you're not really going to see the lightning strikes. So we're going to add our liquid first. Now, I'll make a few more of these, which is perfect. But I don't know if you guys can see. You can just tell that the mica is staying suspended in there more because it's thicker because of that glycerin. But just be warned, if you do a lot of mica for a shift, do not put that much glycerin in there. It'll get funky at the bottom. And then we're going to put this in our groupings. So I'm going to just kind of fold this circle up. So again, it makes a little bit of like a platform for our lightning bolt to sit on and will help the light travel up the bolt a little bit better. So in the file there's 2 files. One is the potion labels and one is the lightning bolts. If you do not have a Cricut, you could borrow someone's Cricut. Or you can try to cut it out, like put it behind the clear and just cut it out yourself by hand. Or you can just go without this detail. But I felt like it was a really nice addition. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, but you almost can't tell it's in there right now. Which I'm actually going to get the light box out so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so when the light hits it, it then illuminates the lightning bolt. Now, I found that when I did test this one, that when I added 2 lightning bolts in there, I got a little bit of a better effect, so you could actually see them a little bit more. So it's just 2 of the same lightning bolts, but I'm putting them in in kind of different directions so that it kind of helps add a little bit of like a three-dimensional quality to it too. So I don't know how well you guys can see it on camera. I'm actually going to turn off some of my lights here so that you can see it a little bit better. All right, so it's not picking up as well on the camera as I would have liked, but you can definitely see the lightning bolts in there when the light is on it. I also don't think my camera is picking up the flickering as well as it does in person, but that sometimes happens with lights. We're going to go ahead and cap this up, and we're going to finish it off. All right, so let's see if our lightning bolt is on here the way we want. Ooh, yeah, so far so good. I love those Zig pens. They are amazing. For those of you that have been around here long enough to see my Beauty and the Beast rose cloche, I used the thinner one to do the ice crystal design on the glass with the glitter. We've used this one to add glitter and things to Giggle Water and Pixie Dust, all kinds of stuff. Okay, let me tap this off. All right, and that left us with a beautifully gold foiled lightning bolt, which I love that it even looks like it's kind of a sketchy gold foiling. I feel like it really just goes with the whole vibe and theme of Willy's potions in his traveling chocolate factory. All right, so I've been sitting here and hemming and hawing about whether I actually want to put this label on the back of this, because essentially it's going to make it so that, one, you see the label through it like that, and two, that you can't see our cool detail of the lightning bolts. So I've made an executive decision that I'm going to make mine a tag, and you may not even decide to use it, but I'm going to take my same thing. I have some blue cardstock here, and I am going to stick it on this, and we're going to add it around the top with our cording, because I think the bottle's too cool. And in the film, you can't tell that there's a label on it besides in the behind the scenes, and it was probably because of that. So we're going to make ours a tag. That way we get the best of both worlds. I just peeled the backing paper off of my label, and I'm going to stick this on here, and then I'm going to cut around the outside edge, and then we'll kind of age it up a little bit. So as you can see, I just have it stuck on here. That way the other side of the tag will be this blue, which is kind of reminiscent to the little clouds that are on here already. We have our tag now that has our gold-leafed lightning bolt, and then the back is the blue. Now, right now it looks a little too perfect, so we're going to take our sandpaper, and again, we're going to kind of go around the outside edge and fray this up and age it a little bit. And I do think we're going to use some Distress Oxide on this one so we can hit the back as well. Alright, so now we have our aged up back and our aged up front. And I have my little hole punch here. And we're going to go ahead and add a hole. And I don't want this to be centered purposefully because I want it to hang at an angle. Because on the one in the film, the label is on like diagonally. So in the film, it's literally like across the bottle like this. So I want it to hang diagonally as well. We are going to add our cording to the top of this one. All right, so I went and folded the string in half. I'm going to bring this to a point and push this through the hole. And then I'm going to take that loop and pull the rest of the strings through. So we get a wrap like that. And now we will tie this onto our bottle. Well, once we put this on our little flickering light book, we get our lightning bolts and our little tag for our condensed thunderclouds. And there you have it, our liquid sunlight and condensed thunderclouds from the new Wonka film. If you haven't checked the film out, I highly recommend it. I think it was a fantastic, fun prequel to the 1970s Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I loved that they incorporated a potion-y vibe. A lot of you reached out to me and said, hey, if you haven't seen it yet, there's some potions in it. So the minute it came out on HBO Max, I definitely checked it out so that I could recreate some of these for you. And there may be a few more coming down the line. So let me know if you guys would be interested in the other main potion that was shown towards the middle to end of the film. I don't want to give it away, but let me know in the comments if you guys would be interested in me recreating those. So there you have it. These will be a great addition to our potion and prop collection of making along the way. So if you guys like this video, give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and we will catch you guys later. Thanks so much.